basically they don't want to pay the fighters, and they don't want to invest and build stars, because look how much trouble they had with Conor McGregor. I mean, one of his biggest fights was with Floyd Mayweather, and they took a big piece of that, but they would have made much more money had he stayed in MMA the whole time. That the boxing sideline. I mean, Conor McGregor could have been this astounding record-setting MMA champion. He was winning in multiple divisions, and it's still unclear to this day whether he really had the skill set to be a long-term champion the way GSP or John Jones did. But as it was, he was just kind of this comet that passed over the sport and then immediately gravitated to boxing, where he could make much more money. And all the weight class changes and the sport changes and the time off and the various dramas and court cases, you know, prevented him from having the kind of career that really builds a sport. He could have been the Muhammad Ali or the Babe Ruth of MMA, and instead he's this kind of wanderer who jumped around in sports and jumped around in weight classes and lost the fight to Nate Diaz when that didn't. It created a great short-term feud, and they were able to have a rematch, and he came back and beat him. But I definitely don't feel like Conor McGregor achieved his potential as a mixed martial artist. Although he accomplished amazing things, winning the multiple belts and everything. But it's, to me, telling when a sport when it can't deliver on the promise of a champion like that to build a resume of fights and a legacy that builds the sport. Boxing had Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and all these, Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard and all these great champions that had such great fights and storied careers, and it inspired other athletes to want to be that, to grow up to be that. And MMA, we had a movie about Muhammad Ali. We've had multiple movies, documentaries, fictional films. I don't think you're going to see that about Conor McGregor, or not in a way where where he's a straight up hero. It might be an anti-hero or a story of failed potential, but it's never going to be, Seabiscuit the racehorse or whatever that people are talking about 40 years after the animal died. I mean, I don't think Conor McGregor is going to be a lasting cultural myth in the way that I think he had the potential to be. And Ronda Rousey in the same way. I mean, she had this really impressive title run, but then as soon as she ran into some difficulty, she folded. And I don't think that was the UFC's fault. That was a personal thing on her, where she just could not handle defeat at all. And